right, so we are going to talk about baby containers today. Lots of wisdom here, but the biggest takeaway of the entire thing is that anything that restricts your child's movement is a no. Even if your child can move in it, but they can't move their body, it's a no. This is, everyone's going to have real big feelings about it. And lots
I
of
can't
hate.
wait for this real.
Yeah. And lots of hate on it. But developmentally, movement is the way that a baby grows their brain. And so we're just going to talk today about certain kinds of containers and why people would want them. But most people's desire is to occupy their child and to allow them to get something else done. But that is something for you. It's definitely not for your kids. So we can try and make ourselves feel better by putting them in this developmentally stimulating, appropriate container. But the best container is the floor and their ability to move around. Also, usually when they say Apple's going to update their terms and conditions, we just click accept, right? Because you're not going to stop me from using my phone, you hag, right? But when we get these baby toys, they also have their warnings and stuff, and most people don't read them. Like, most people aren't going through it. But there will be a section of them that says this is ideal for this age range, but age range really isn't the part of it. It's where they are developmentally. No child should be in any container that if they cannot hold their head up. So, for example, sweet Delilah here. She is not ready for anything. She's ready for the flow, you know? Like, Shorty is on the floor.
Shorty on the floor.
But as we get to that 3 to 4 month change and the baby starts to balance their head better, then these things are more okay. But even in the manufacturer's guidelines, they say no more than 10 to 15 minutes and no more than twice a day. So if you're really struggling for 30 minutes a day, broken into 2 15-minute parts, then I guess that's a great time, like if you're like frying bacon and you don't really want to hold the baby at the same time.
Or handling raw chicken. That's the one thing I'm like, can't do it with. Yeah. It's so messy and like stressful.
I get it. And Vincent's family, they wash the chicken.
Okay, yeah,
So they rinse it off. Yeah, so you can do that too. Just wash off all the chicken love. But it's a Hispanic thing.
We stopped doing it. Look at me like I'm crazy. Sorry.
But if we look at things through what is best for my child and what do I need sanity-wise, I think we can find a balance. But what we're going to talk about is what each thing does to your kid. Because 15 to 30 minutes of freedom isn't worth what it's going to be more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, right? Amen? 100%. It's going to be more than 15 minutes, and it's going to be used way more than twice a day. And so we want to discuss why those are the boundaries most of these toy pamphlets have, and why we don't listen to them as mothers because what our goals are.
I feel like the conversation again always starts with what is the goal? What is the goal of parenting? What is the goal of this stage of a baby? And it's going to get real nerdy. But when babies are born, their brain has all the parts there, but all the wiring is still trying to get itself figured out. And it does so.
You handled that, bro.
So the first and the simplest way that the brain learns is through reflexes. And so for all the babies,
You're welcome in here. If this is not the gate, it's just to slow them down. It's not to stop them.
It's just a little violent.
First of all, he's a boy.
Yes.
He also saw another boy and he was like, "You look like we could grapple." Yeah. And Cameron can take it. Clearly. He's also grappled with others. He likes to grapple with females.
We're trying to drive her on gentle hands. I'm not sure when that'll actually click. We work on it.
There's a really great book that helped us a lot with our firstborn son, which was Hands Are Not for Hitting. And we read that every single day. I could probably tell you every page. Hands are for high five. Hands are for nice to meet you. brushing your teeth. I'm telling you, I could read you the book right now. It's a great book. I would work it into your repertoire, even at this age, because they know what a hand is. And we also say, like, instead of being like, no, don't do that, you just teach them what they can do. So grabbing his hand, grabbing Tucker's hand and being like, oh, no, we're gentle, instead of just the no, because they get a lot of no's, right? And so if you're just like, so we're going to be, we say suave in our house because I try to be as much as possible. And if you just say, hey, we're going to do this, or, oh, you wanted to put that down? Let's just set it down. Those are the things, because if you give them a big reaction, they're like, oh, I'm grabbing that kid's face again. Welcome to the talk. We're talking about baby containers today. You're welcome. Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, so the first part, in the first year, the child's main brain growth happens through primitive reflexes, where you touch the side of their mouth and they'll turn their head. If you touch the bottom of their foot, they'll curl their toes. And so movement is what primes the brain for all of the development that's going to take place after. And so babies who are stuck in these containers, they don't get access to the nutrients that are literally feeding their brain, more so than anything else. And it's hard because there are certain things that are necessary. It's like when you guys drove here, you had to put your baby in the car seat. And so like that's a necessary container that you need.
Really wish you did that. That would be so good. Like just hold her.
It's another topic.
Yeah.
Car seats.
I was going to talk about that. I even saved a picture on my phone.
Nice.
Great. Another one is strollers. It's like you're going to walk with the baby. Again, you're going to put them in a stroller. Even a carrier is a container. It's a good container. It's a better container because you have that close proximity, but it's still a container. So some of them are necessary, but the vast majority of development that takes place in the first year of life, which we're all in, is through movement. And so any container is going to affect that. And the biggest gripe that we have with containers is putting the baby in a position they're not ready to be in. Because it has consequences beyond just the development nature of it. Just like if the baby's not sitting yet and you put them in a container that's helping them sit, they're putting forces on their bones that they're not ready for yet. And that is going to affect every aspect of their development because literally their structure is not ready for it. And that's going to have consequences down the line for how their body is developing, how their spine is developing, and how their brain is going to develop through all that as well.
Because there's tornadoes.
Sorry, I was looking at something or someone's doing. My bad. What did you say?
It's your turn.
It's my turn. Oh, so I have this picture. So one of the things that people is generally accepted that the bumbo is not great. Don't come at me, bumbo, when you see this online. But
Say that into the mic.
yeah. Really happy for your business, but I'm arguing you. So one of the reasons, so I listened to like 10 pediatricians talk about this today, and a lot of people are like, I really love the up seat. And the reason that I love the up seat is because it changes the angle of the hip. So in a bumbo, the baby's butt is in the back of the seat, and their legs are up like this. Yeah, which is really developmentally inappropriate because it makes them curve their spine like a seat. And the up seat, yeah, everybody's like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Now when you see it, you're like, oh, I've seen 700 babies in that. Daycares use them a lot. Yeah. And then, if you go to the up seat, they do this. So it has this thing so the legs, they're like, look at how much better the hips are. The spine is stacking, the hips are stacking. Number one, no baby should be in there in any of those seats if they can't control their head. But a lot of people are like, my baby wants to sit up because they're only happy when I'm holding them sitting up. Newsflash, they're only happy because you're holding them. Not because you're holding them up. They're like, well, if I prop them up on the couch and they're sitting up, I get at least 5 to 10 minutes where they're okay because that's developmentally appropriate that they can handle 5 or 10 minutes. But what I thought was interesting about this picture, you guys can kind of see this other seat, so that's the bumbo. This is the up seat. What position does this remind you of if I did it like this? It's your newborn car seat.
Oh, yeah.
Every car seat this to every baby. It's one of the things that we staunchly recommend people getting a straight back car seat so that their baby is just kicked back like this versus in that newborn car seat. So like, oh, my baby really hates that seat, or my baby is constipated, or my baby's having issues. During that curve, it puts all the pressure on the nerves that go to the digestive system. And so most of the time we're laying a baby on our tummy, we're finding that point of the spine, and we're pushing it back into place gently as chiropractors because that's the pressure point of that seat. And so when people are like, well, my baby falls asleep in the car seat, I just take the car seat out and I bring it in and I let them sleep there. It's a long period of time to be in that position, and it's a limiting movement because if you watch your baby sleep, if you can get them to, if they ever sleep on their own, which is hard for them, but once they do, they move. They move while they sleep. They turn their head, they move their arms, they get to their side, and the bigger they get, the more they move. Last night I put Nora down and she was on her left side with this knee up, and when I went to check on her, she had rolled over 3 times and was on her right side with her hands like this around her head because they need that motion, and that's where they get their tummy time. Once they can roll over, they lay on their belly and they get so much more tummy time because they want to be there because they can regulate their temperature and everything. And so when we look at a container, we want to say, what is this doing to my kid's development and what is it limiting them movement? The other thing that happens a lot is that people
I think he hit his head on the.
put, a lot of people will put their baby on a bouncer. So I looked all about the Jolly Jumper, all about the bouncer, all that stuff. They're so and it seems like
Okay, I'll get you something else to trade.
And it seems like they're super happy because they're jumping and they're squealing and they're happy.
I need on here.
Vinci, you can have it after we're done talking. But what happens is there's a stepping reflex, and we've talked about this in other groups, is that when the baby's toes hit the ground, they push off because they're learning to crawl. It's a crawling thing, it's not a jumping thing. So their hips are not ready. If they can't stand, their hips are not ready to bear their weight. And so a lot of things that you'll see if you like start going down like a Google wormhole is like people are like, this is not developmentally appropriate for their hips, this is not good for their hips, this leads to degeneration on the hips. And it's because we're asking our babies to sit up before they're ready, which is that 5 to 6 month zone. We're asking them to stand before they're ready, which is that 6 to 8 month zone. And we usually, when we get to this zone, the kids can entertain themselves for longer than 10 to 15 minutes in a little area, playpen area that you can build for them with freely moving. But we don't want to put their hips in a position they're not ready. And so the jumper and the joy that they get is great. And I thought about this a lot, and I was like, this is not a great example. But alcohol makes us usually really happy and have a good time, right? And in the moment, but it's not necessarily good for us, right? And so people are going to be like, wow, it's really dramatic that you're comparing alcohol to a jolly jumper. But just because our baby is having a super great time doesn't mean it's the best thing for them. It's also super stimulating. You'll see as your child ages and you think, wow, I need to get some energy out. It's going to be a brilliant job to take them to a trampoline park. You're going to have tired children, but you're going to have children who are in a very bad mood because they're super overstimulated. Because every cell in their body has been bounced. Those places are the brightest colors. There's so much noise. There's so many people. And so, again, there was joy in the moment, but the repercussions of it. It's something that's widely accepted with screen time, right? People are like, oh, screen time will make your kids zone out. Yesterday, I had the stomach bug. I was not good. I was not okay. I'm much better now. 24 hours. Oh, I was like, wow, he's doing that loud. I was like, danger, Will Robinson. I was like, I've been there, I've done that. It's not pretty. You need new clothes. What was I saying? That really got you distracted. Oh yeah,
it's
and
good
so
too.
we watched a lot of TV yesterday because I literally could not parent. I had people helping me all day with our kids, and so we watched TV. And as excited as my kids were to watch and pick their own show, they each got to pick a movie. They were hellions at bedtime because they didn't get to move their body, but their brain was super stimulated. And so a lot of people are like, yeah, we'll watch a show before bed. Watch a show in the afternoon if you're ever gonna watch a show, never before bed. But yesterday it was, what was I gonna do? I was hugging the porcelain throne. It was not an opportunity for me. And so in those times, or if it's raining outside, and you're like, you need something.
I also think it's worth having a conversation too, where it's just like in those scenarios, like you need it. It's okay. The big, like if we look at things on a big spectrum, it's like, is this thing going to absolutely harm your child versus what is the absolute best thing for your child? There's a huge spectrum in between, and certain times we have to make decisions where it's like we just need to survive this moment. But the problem becomes when we need to survive this moment becomes every day.
Yeah.
Because then we'll start having these things where it's like, okay, well we'll use it here, we'll use it here, and when you want to end up using it 70% of the time, then that's where we'll start to see more things with brain development starts to get compromised, where kids, and we'll see this a lot of times with youngest babies, especially if they've got two older siblings, where the parents are just like, I don't want to put the baby on the floor because I'm afraid the older siblings are going to crush the baby. And just like, and then we can see developmental stuff will happen. I mean, we're taking care of a girl right now who she didn't want to crawl, and she like figured out a way to like butt scoot, and now she's trying to essentially just go straight to walking because the parents intelligently were trying to protect her from the older siblings, but there's going to be consequences. The more that we go take detours off of the normal developmental path, the harder it's going to be to get to our end destination. It's like if we just keep constantly taking detours, we're never going to get to where we want to go.
We just need less. We don't need the fancy things. We don't. And people will say, "Well, you can buy an exercise, or you use it for such a short period of time." Like if you go to one of those things like WeTrade, like where there's 100 exercises.
I had to do like my hand just walk past them.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. Like
So I'm like,
yeah, they're so good. It looks like it would be so awesome, and you would just have all these things right at your fingertips, which is basically what a cell phone is too, right?
right.
And you're like, is this good for me? No. Do I have a problem with this? Yes. And then you're like, let me give my kid the gateway drug. Let me give them this exerciser where they have non-stop entertainment, things that buzz and sing and ding and whirl, and they can move around and slam themselves as hard as possible into the walls and cabinetry of my house.
It's great training.
Yeah. And so, in short, the risk is not worth the reward. The reward is not worth the risk. That's what I want to say. And also, truly, a blanket and some toys. You don't even need to buy these black and white cards. One of my practice members was like, look at these cards I made. She had a Sharpie and some index cards, and she just drew zigzags.
We have older kids too, that's a fun activity.
Oh, making for
My cousin I had them draw their pictures.
And that's beautiful. That's a memento, right? A mirror. They all love a mirror. They all want to look at themselves. But they will be just as happy with a spatula as they will a perfectly designed giraffe. And they're going to chew on Sophie, but they're also going to chew on your flip-flop. Like, yesterday, Nora had Vincent's shoe in her mouth.
Oh, with cat food.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reached,
And he's going to survive.
he gagged, and now he gives it to me.
Yeah.
And now he takes it and gives it to me.
It's called learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other day at the chiropractor, actually, she was like standing up on this bench, and I didn't even tell Alex this stuff. It's going on YouTube. Sorry. But she just put her mouth on it, and I was like, hey, no, she shouldn't put her mouth on it. So she looked at me and was chewing, and she took a little chunk out of like, it's kind of like leather. Like I'm like, what is happening? Like those teeth, they're sharp. Yeah, I'm just now getting used to that. I'm like, oh, she shouldn't put her mouth on it. I moved her away, and she came with a chunk. I was like, oh my god.
Nora went through a room the other day and just put her mouth on every chair, and she's just experiencing it. Like she's like, is this something I can chew on? Is this something I can bite? Because that's what she wants to do. Hey girl. Speaking of her,
Oh, she looks so cute.
she's like hello, babies. I have arrived.
She goes after my coconut water just like everyone does.
Yeah. She'll probably start going, agua, agua.
It's pretty yummy. It's pretty yummy.
That's not for you. That's hers.
Thank you.
Thank you. We said to her the other day, y'all. So she's 14 months. 15 months? 14 months? She.
I'm put on my back. Thank you.
We said, can you go put this cup in the sink? Joking. She took the cup, walked over to the step stool, climbed the step stool, and dropped it in the sink. And I was like, you're a genius. She's definitely the smartest of our kids, and I don't know if it's because they like osmosis absorb brilliance from their big siblings. But I literally,
I got my coconut water in my purse.
she loves to put a purse on. That's her number one thing. But it was wild, guys. Yeah, she loves a purse. Like, she has so many purses. She puts on purses and necklaces and the baby carrier. She'll wrap it all around herself. But guys, I think that's all we have about baby containers. So it's open for questions or things that you didn't ruin your kid if you didn't. Especially if you take them to a chiropractor. We can fix all that baby container stuff.